Today's recipe is a cozy and comforting soup because I'm yet to see the sun in November, so this is exactly what I need. This is a Brussels sprout and white bean soup finished with a swirl of spinach cashew cream and some crispy Brussels sprouts to finish. It's packed with fiber, nutrient-dense ingredients, and of course, it tastes absolutely delicious. If you're new to the Earthy Goodness Kitchen, my name is George. I've been cooking since I was 12, and I post a new plant-based cooking or recipe video every Wednesday and Sunday. So be sure to stick around and let's get cooking. First things first, we're going to prepare our Brussels sprouts. Now I know these are definitely not the most popular of vegetables, but I'm going to show you a couple of methods to make them really delicious. First things first, we're just going to trim off the end. And then there will usually be a couple of sort of rough leaves which will just peel off really easily, and then just repeat with the rest of your Brussels sprouts. I like to use a small little paring knife for this job, but you don't need to go crazy taking off lots of the outer leaves, only if they look a little bit rough or dirty. We'll of course give these a wash afterwards as well. I also want to give a quick shout out to Sarno, another YouTuber who creates some absolutely delicious plant-based recipes, who I've been following for a very long time. Derek and Frankie, of course. I also want to say that the little clips of Mitzi and Poppy were of course inspired by his channel and the little clips he does of Frankie or Miss America. So yeah, his channel will be linked in the description box, although I'm sure most of you are already subscribed to him. So for half these sprouts, I'm simply going to shred them down, just finely slice them, and they're going to be cooked down into the soup. And they're just going to disappear into the soup and go lovely and sweet and buttery almost. So yeah, don't need to be in any way precise, just thinly sliced. As always, we've got the claw shape with our fingers. We're using our knuckles to guide the knife. And we've also got our thumb hidden behind the fingers, so there's no way it's going to get chopped. What you don't want is it sort of slipping forward like that, and then you cutting it. And always just take it slow, gently rock your knife through the vegetable, and speed will come with practice. And as always, I'm using my little mise en place bowls just to keep everything nice and organized. This little munchkin is making filming rather tricky, aren't you? Not a huge fan of the cameras. For the second half of the sprouts, which are going to be air fried until beautiful and crispy, we're either going to cut them into quarters or into half, depending on their size. So the smaller ones, like this one, are just going to go in half. And then the larger ones will cut into quarters so that they all cook nice and evenly. I'll probably do most into quarters just because they're going into the soup, and I want it to be sort of nice, small, mouth-sized portions. For the crispy Brussels sprouts, we're just going to add a drizzle of olive oil, pinch of sea salt, and some black pepper. And then they're going to go into the air fryer. And towards the end of the cooking, we're going to add in a nice sprinkle of nutritional yeast. And just give them a little toss to make sure they're all coated in the oil. I've taken the crisper basket out and I'm just going to add in all the sprouts. And then because we've cut them mostly into quarters, these aren't going to take really that long at all. And then into the air fryer, I think for around 8 to 10 minutes before we add the nutritional yeast. So these have had 5 minutes, and I'm just going to add a little sprinkle of nutritional yeast over them, crumbling it through my fingers so it gets a bit finer and sticks to the sprouts really well. Give them a shake and then back into the air fryer. So while those Brussels sprouts are air frying, we're going to start on the soup base. Just been heating up this pan, and I'm adding a couple tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil. Then we're going in with our sprouts. Whenever you're cutting vegetables, you want to make them more manageable. So I've cut these in half, and then I'll probably just do 2 at a time just to be safe. And then I can get a nice grip on them. And we're just going to finely slice the celery just like we did with the Brussels sprouts. I love to use celery as well as onion in this soup, as it adds a really nice sort of freshness, a sort of peppery, floral flavor, which is just really delicious. Celery also goes really well with buttery white beans. Poppy's coming in for a tasty nibble. And the celery. And we'll just cook these down for a few minutes to start them off, as they are quite fibrous, especially the celery. Going to add in a nice pinch of sea salt. I'd usually use a big soup pan, but it can be quite difficult to film in, so I'm using this slightly lower sided pan just so you guys can see what's going on. So that's starting to soften, and I'm going to add in the onion, plus 2 bay leaves. And we'll continue cooking this until the onion is translucent and the celery and the Brussels sprouts are starting to get nice and caramelized. For the garlic, we're just going to slice it, as I want a nice sort of subtle, mellow flavor of garlic through the soup, Whereas if you mince it quite small, it's going to be a bit more harsh and more of a punchy flavor of garlic. So the less you cut the garlic, the more of sort of a mellow garlicky flavor you're going to get. And also the longer you cook it for, hence why we're going to be adding it in near the beginning of the cooking process. So just crush the garlic to remove the skin. That is the easiest method in my opinion. And then just a quick slice. Also adding in that sliced garlic. Later in the recipe, I'm adding in some sun-dried tomatoes. So I'm just going to add a little drizzle of the oil from them, which will be infused with those beautiful tomatoes and add a really nice flavor to the soup. Although I want this soup to be cozy and comforting for this rainy and cold weather that we're having, I also want it to be a little bit vibrant to lift our spirits. So I'm going to add some really nice aromatic ingredients. The veggies are getting lovely and soft, so I'm going to add just a little bit of this jarred chopped chili. You could also use chili flakes, or you could use red pepper flakes for something a little bit less spicy. Next up, some ground coriander for that lovely citrusy floral flavor. The smell coming from your pan now should be absolutely delicious. So everything is lovely and caramelized and soft, so we're going to add in our vegetable stock. Also a teaspoon of white miso for seasoning, butter beans, or cannellini beans actually I'm using. If you're not a huge fan of sun-dried tomatoes, feel free to leave them out, and you could add something else like some olives or some capers, some nice sort of brined artichokes, that could be nice. And these I'm just going to thinly slice. If you keep your cooking area nice and clean, then that's going to prevent you getting stressed out when cooking, which is no fun. It should be a nice relaxing process. Naughty Poppy has been rummaging in the garden, and now she's eating the cleaning mat. And your sun-dried tomatoes. Stir them through, we'll then bring it to a simmer, and we'll make our spinach and cashew cream. There's one sure way to make your soup ultra comforting, and that is with a cashew cream. This one is going to get a nutrient boost from spinach and nutritional yeast. For the nutritious and delicious cashew cream, we're starting of course with some cashews. These are just raw cashews, unroasted, unsalted. Then of course some nutritional yeast for that cheesy and nutty flavor, and some water. And then I'm just gonna cram in a big handful of spinach. This is some really nice spinach from my brother's farm, fresh from the earth. I'm just gonna get in as much as I can. Hopefully that blends up nicely. I wasn't gonna get it all in, but we're gonna give it a go. It needs using, so it's going in. Might have been a little bit optimistic here. And we'll just blend that until smooth. If your blender isn't very powerful, then you can pre-soak the cashews in boiling water for 30 minutes or cold water overnight. So this has been blipping away nicely for about 10, maybe 12 minutes now, and all the flavors have melded together beautifully, and it's really tasty just as it is. But now it's the fun part. We're going to add in the spinach cashew cream. And that is going to turn it the most incredible color. So vibrant. We'll just simmer this for a few minutes now, and you can simmer it for longer if you want it to be a little bit thicker. It's totally up to you. Such an amazing color. And then just sprinkle over those air-fried Brussels sprouts. Now this may look like something that Shrek would cook, but I promise you it is absolutely delicious. Behind the green mask are some delicious, fragrant flavors. I'm going to finish it with a few more of those crispy sprouts and just a little drizzle of chili oil, which is of course optional. So good. Who knew you could make Brussels sprouts so delicious? When you see that it's bright green, you'll think that it's going to taste earthy and like spinach or kale, but it really is delicious. There's a lovely sweetness from caramelizing the Brussels sprouts, celery and the onion. Then you get a nice sort of saltiness from the miso. You've got the sun-dried tomatoes adding a nice sort of fruity punch, and that is just really tasty. Highly recommend giving this a go. It's also extremely nutritious, so double win. Thank you so much for watching. For some more plant-based inspiration, be sure to check out this video.